All right, so are you a cat person or a dog person? It's an age-old debate,
They're
right?
classic.
And we all have our opinions, but we wanted to go a little deeper than those stereotypes,
Oh, yeah.
and see if our furry friends really do reflect who we are.
Interesting.
So we're cracking open this WebMD slideshow called The Truth About Pets and Personality,
Okay.
which is helpfully medically reviewed, by the way,
Good to know.
to see if there's any actual science behind this whole thing.
It's a question that has fascinated people for ages. Do our personalities draw us to certain pets?
Right.
Or do our pets shape us over time?
It's a bit of a chicken or the egg thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it really is.
So intriguing. And WebMD jumps right in with this University of Texas survey that suggests some pretty fascinating trends. Apparently, dog people
Yeah.
tend to be more conscientious,
Right.
more extroverted, and more agreeable.
Interesting.
It's almost like you can picture that classic dog person, right?
Totally.
Meticulously planning their weekend hikes, then enthusiastically inviting everyone along.
Like a super organized
Yeah.
social butterfly.
Exactly. They thrive on that structure and social connection. But what's interesting is a study also found that dog people scored a bit lower on openness compared to cat people.
Openness in this context refers to being open to new experiences, whether that's trying a new cuisine,
Right.
traveling to an unfamiliar place, or even just being receptive to different viewpoints.
Yeah.
So maybe the dog person might be a bit more hesitant to stray from their routine.
Makes you wonder if they'd be up for trying that new Ethiopian restaurant down the street.
Good point. Now, when it comes to cat people, the survey suggests they're more open to those new experiences.
Yeah.
They're the ones more likely to check out that art gallery or indie film. But, and here's where it gets really interesting, they also scored higher on neuroticism.
Oh.
Now, before anyone starts worrying, neurotic doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you.
Of course not.
It just means being more prone to stress or worry. Perhaps overthinking things a bit more than others.
So while the dog person is out hiking with friends,
Right.
the cat person might be curled up with a thought-provoking book, perfectly content in their own company,
Yeah.
but maybe also replaying that awkward conversation from earlier in their head.
Precisely. And this is where that nature versus nurture question comes into play.
Right.
Do cat people gravitate towards feline companions because they offer a sense of calm and understanding amidst their internal complexities? Or does years of living with a creature known for its independence and quiet contemplation actually shape one's personality to be more introspective and perhaps a bit more sensitive to stressors?
So fascinating. It really makes you think. But before we jump to conclusions, it's worth noting that the study, which surveyed over 4,500 people,
Wow.
found that these personality differences between cat and dog people weren't actually that huge.
Yeah, that makes
It's not like we're dealing with completely different species here.
Right.
And in fact, WebMD points out that only 15% of the people surveyed disliked both cats and dogs.
Really?
So clearly there's a lot of overlap and plenty of people who appreciate the unique qualities of both.
Makes sense.
Totally. And speaking of unique qualities, let's dive into the pros and cons that WebMD highlights.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, both cats and dogs bring their own set of joys and challenges to the table.
Oh, absolutely. With dogs, you've got that unwavering loyalty, boundless energy.
Yeah.
They're always up for an adventure.
Huh?
They're like built-in workout buddies.
Yeah.
Who shower you with unconditional love.
It's like having a furry personal trainer who's always down for a game of fetch.
Exactly.
But of course,
Yeah.
with those perks come responsibilities.
Right.
Dogs need training.
Yeah.
They shed like it's their part-time job.
Oh, tell me about it.
And they can be quite demanding of attention.
You're definitely making a commitment when you bring a dog into your life.
Yeah.
Now, cats, on the other hand, are often praised for their independence. Masters of self-entertainment content, to lounge in sunbeams and groom themselves for hours.
Which can be a huge plus for people with busy schedules or those who appreciate a bit of peace and quiet.
For sure.
Plus, no more dog hair tumbleweeds rolling across the floor.
I can relate to that.
But of course, there's a trade-off. Cats can be aloof. They require those, shall we say, fragrant litter boxes.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to decipher what's going on behind those enigmatic eyes.
A little mysterious.
You never quite know what they're plotting, which, depending on your personality, can be either endearing or a tad unnerving.
Yeah.
It's like living with a tiny furry mystery wrapped in a velvet coat.
And while their independence can be appealing, it's important to remember that cats still need affection and interaction, even if they have a funny way of showing it.
Speaking of showing affection, I have to share this little nugget from WebMD that completely blew my mind.
Okay.
Apparently, snuggling with a purring cat has been scientifically shown to reduce stress and blood pressure.
Isn't that amazing?
Who knew those little weirdos were actually good for our health?
There's real therapeutic value to those feline cuddles.
Okay, so we've covered personality insights, we've weighed the pros and cons,
Uh-huh.
but I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
What do you mean?
There's a whole other dimension to explore.
Oh, really? I'm intrigued.
What are our cats and dogs really trying to tell us?
Ah, you're talking about their communication styles.
Exactly. We need to decode those furry enigmas.
I like that. Decoding furry enigmas.
Because let's be honest, sometimes it feels like they're speaking an entirely different language.
It's like they have their own secret code.
Right. And we're just trying to crack it.
Well, for starters, we need to ditch some of those common misconceptions.
Oh, like what?
Like that whole thing about dogs baring their teeth
Yeah.
being a sign of aggression.
Right.
Not always the case.
Wait, seriously. I've definitely given some pups a wide berth because of that.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
But what we might perceive as a menacing growl can actually be a dog's way of communicating submission or appeasement.
Interesting.
That doggy grin
Yeah.
is often their way of saying, hey, I'm no threat. Let's be friends.
So basically, they're just trying to smile. That's adorable. Now, what about cats? Because sometimes I swear mine is judging me with those laser beam stares.
Yeah, the infamous cat stare.
Yeah.
It can be a bit unnerving, but it's rarely a sign of judgment.
Okay.
Cats are incredibly perceptive creatures,
Right.
and they gather a lot of information through their senses.
Mm-hmm.
That intense gaze might just be their way of assessing their surroundings, taking in every detail.
So it's more about curiosity than condemnation. That makes me feel a bit better. But what about those other quirky behaviors? Like my cat does this thing where she slowly blinks at me.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a tiny kitty wink.
That slow blink is actually a powerful sign of trust and affection in the cat world.
Really?
It's their way of saying, I feel safe and comfortable around you.
Ah.
They're essentially disarming themselves,
Oh.
showing you they don't perceive you as a threat.
No, I had no idea. There was so much meaning behind that. I'm going to look at those kitty winks in a whole new light now.
It's remarkable how much we can learn about our pets just by paying attention to those subtle cues. And it's not just about body language.
Right.
Vocalizations play a big role too.
Right. Like everyone knows what a dog's bark means, but there's a whole range of barks.
Yes.
Whines and howls, each conveying something different.
Exactly. A high-pitched, excited bark might mean, let's play.
Yeah.
While a deeper, more resonant bark could be a warning signal.
Uh-huh. And those plaintive whines?
Often as a dog's way of expressing anxiety, loneliness, or even pain.
It's almost like they're trying to tell us a story with their sounds. Now, what about cats? Their vocalizations seem a bit more mysterious to me.
Cats are masters of subtlety.
Okay.
A gentle chirp or trill might be a greeting or a way of getting your attention.
Right.
A purr, of course, is generally associated with contentment,
Yeah.
but it can also be a self-soothing mechanism
Oh.
when they're feeling stressed or unwell.
So interesting. It's like they have a whole emotional vocabulary
They do.
that we're just beginning to understand.
And the more we understand,
Yeah.
the deeper our bond with our pets can become.
Yeah.
It's all about paying attention, being present, and really tuning into their unique ways of communicating.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. Now, while we've been deep in the world of cats and dogs, WebMD does touch on some other pets that people might consider. And I'm curious, do bunny lovers fall into the cat person or dog person camp?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or are they a whole different breed?
That's a great question. WebMD gives a nod to rabbits, reptiles, fish, even birds. A whole menagerie of possibilities.
It's like expanding the personality spectrum beyond just cats and dogs.
Right.
So what about rabbits? What kind of personality meshes well with a bunny companion?
Rabbits can be incredibly social and affectionate creatures, capable of forming strong bonds with their human families. They can even be litter box trained.
That's a plus.
Which is a definite plus. But they're also prey animals, which means they can be easily startled and might not enjoy being picked up or handled roughly.
So maybe not the ideal pet for a household with small children who love to cuddle. What about people who are fascinated by reptiles? What sort of commitment are they getting into?
Reptiles definitely require a specialized kind of care and attention.
Oh.
WebMD really stresses the importance of thorough research before bringing one home. Many reptiles, like tortoises and some snakes, have incredibly long lifespans.
Really? Really?
Some exceeding 15 years.
Wow, so you're really making a long-term commitment.
Exactly. And they need specific habitats with controlled temperature and humidity levels.
I see.
Some species even require live food, like crickets or even mice,
Oh, wow.
which not everyone is comfortable with.
Definitely not your average pet store purchase. So reptiles are more for the dedicated enthusiast who's willing to put in the time and effort.
Absolutely. Now, on a completely different end of the spectrum, we have fish. They seem pretty low maintenance, right?
Right.
Just a tank, some colorful swimmers, and you're good to go.
That's what I always thought. But I have a feeling it's more complex than that.
There's definitely a spectrum of complexity when it comes to fish keeping.
Okay.
You could start simple with a goldfish in a bowl,
Yeah.
but maintaining a thriving saltwater tank with a diverse ecosystem of tropical fish requires a significant investment of time, knowledge, and resources.
It's like creating a miniature ocean in your living room.
Precisely. It can become a truly captivating hobby.
Yeah.
And there's a certain meditative quality to observing fish as they glide through their aquatic world.
I can see how that would be incredibly relaxing. And speaking of fascinating creatures, what about birds? They've always intrigued me. So intelligent.
Yeah.
And that whole talking thing is pretty amazing.
Birds are incredible creatures, no doubt.
Yeah.
Parrots in particular have a remarkable capacity for mimicry and can learn meaningful phrases, even developing vocabularies of over 100 words.
That's mind-blowing. Imagine having a conversation with your pet bird.
It's certainly a unique experience.
Yeah.
And even birds that don't talk can be highly intelligent and entertaining companions.
Right.
They have such vibrant personalities.
Yeah.
And they bring a certain cheerful energy to a home.
Plus, they have a long lifespan, some living for decades.
That's true.
You could have a feathered friend for a really long time. So we've got rabbits, reptiles, fish, birds. It seems like there's a perfect pet out there for everyone, no matter your personality or lifestyle.
It really does.
Oh.
It's all about finding the right match. But WebMD makes a crucial point, especially when it comes to these less conventional pets.
Okay.
Responsible ownership is paramount.
Yeah. It's like we've opened up this whole Pandora's box of pet personality.
I like that.
It's fascinating, but you're right. Responsible pet ownership is key, no matter what kind of creature you share your life with.
Absolutely. It's about understanding their needs,
Right.
providing proper nutrition, enrichment, veterinary care,
Yeah.
all those crucial elements. And that responsibility is even greater
Okay.
if you're considering a less traditional pet, like an exotic animal.
WebMD actually mentions that monkeys and sugar gliders
Oh, wow.
are becoming increasingly popular.
Interesting.
But they caution against jumping into that without serious consideration.
I can see why.
These animals have very specific needs that most people aren't equipped to handle.
What might seem like a cool or unique pet choice
Yeah.
can quickly turn into a real challenge
Yeah.
if you're not prepared.
Yeah.
These animals can suffer if they're not given the right diet, environment, and social interaction.
It's like we have a responsibility to not just consider what's fascinating or trendy, but what's truly best for the animal's well-being.
Exactly. It's about making choices that benefit both you and your animal companion. And it seems like that's a recurring theme in our deep dive today.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about dogs, cats, even those more exotic creatures, understanding their personalities and needs is crucial for building a strong, healthy bond.
That's a great point. And it makes me think back to that initial question. Do our pets reflect our personalities, or have we become more like them over time?
Oh, that's a tough one.
What are your thoughts on that, now that we've explored all these different facets of the pet personality spectrum?
You know, I think it's a bit of both.
Really?
We're naturally drawn to creatures that resonate with some aspect of ourselves. Maybe it's a shared life or adventure, a quiet appreciation for solitude, or even just a quirky sense of humor.
Yeah.
But then as we share our lives with these animals, we inevitably start to adopt some of their habits and ways of seeing the world.
It's so true. I know I've definitely picked up some feline tendencies from my cat over the years.
Oh, like what?
A love for napping in sunbeams, a newfound appreciation for the art of the slow blink.
Who knows? Maybe I am more of a cat person than I realized.
Perhaps. And I think that's the beauty of this whole exploration.
Yeah.
It encourages us to be more mindful, more observant of our animal companions.
We can start to see the world through their eyes, decode their subtle signals, and appreciate the unique ways they enrich our lives.
It's like we're all becoming amateur pet whisperers.
Exactly.
Deciphering those secret messages we might have missed before.
So to everyone listening, I encourage you, go forth and observe your furry, scaled, or feathered friends. You might be amazed by what you discover.
It's like a whole new world of understanding is opening up.
It really is.
Right in our own homes.
Yeah.
And until next time, happy exploring.